eastern Ukraine. Newly released battlefield footage shows Ukrainian Azov Brigade operators using FPV first-person view drones to strike a Russian motorcycle unit attempting to advance across open terrain. The incident highlights how inexpensive, highly maneuverable drones continue to reshape tactics on both sides of the conflict. Russian forces have increasingly deployed motorcycle teams, often riding lightweight trail or enduro bikes, to move rapidly between frontline positions, deliver supplies or evacuate wounded, and conduct reconnaissance. These vehicles are valued for their speed and low fuel consumption, but they offer virtually no protection against drones or small arms fire. In the footage circulated on Ukrainian military channels, Azov Brigade drone operators lock onto multiple motorcycle riders moving across relatively open ground. FPV drones equipped with small warheads are seen pursuing individual targets before detonating in close proximity. Ukrainian sources claim the strikes disrupted the Russian unit's attempt to reach forward positions, neutralizing several motorcycles and halting their advance. Independent verification of total losses remains limited, but the video aligns with ongoing reports of FPV weapons being used to counter fast-moving Russian teams. FPV drones have become one of the defining tools of the war in Ukraine due to their high precision, allowing operators to pursue small, mobile targets, low cost, compared with guided missiles or artillery. Flexibility, enabling rapid deployment by small teams. Ability to bypass terrain obstacles and strike targets hiding behind cover. Against unarmored vehicles such as motorcycles, FPV drones are particularly devastating. The engagement underscores how both armies are forced to adapt quickly. Russia's shift to agile motorcycle units was intended to counter Ukrainian drones and artillery by relying on speed. Ukraine's reliance on FPV drone operators reflects a broader strategy of using small, precise weapons to offset limited ammunition and manpower. As both sides refine their drone technology and countermeasures, the battlefield continues to evolve into a domain where small, inexpensive unmanned systems have an outsized impact. While the strategic significance of this particular engagement is still developing, it adds to the mounting evidence that FPV drones are reshaping not only frontline tactics, but the overall character of warfare in Ukraine. And Russian forces have broken through Ukrainian defenses north of Huliai-Pole, creating a rapidly expanding threat to one of Ukraine's most fortified positions in Zaporizhia Oblast. The breakthrough has prompted Ukrainian forces to reposition for a high-stakes defensive battle along the Zarichny River. Here, Russian forces have broken through a key point of the Ukrainian defensive line north of Huliai-Pole, creating a rapidly expanding threat to one of Ukraine's most fortified strongholds. In response, Ukrainian forces have regrouped and shifted into position for a decisive battle that will determine the outcome of the battle for Huliai-Pole. The main Russian goal in this sector is to advance north of Huliai-Pole. By doing so, Russian forces aim to establish a third axis of pressure, and set the conditions for a potential operational encirclement by pressuring Ukrainian defenses from 3 directions. The decision to bypass Huliai Pole from the north is driven by 2 key factors. First, Huliai Pole serves as the largest and most fortified Ukrainian stronghold in the region. A frontal assault on the town would inevitably result in severe Russian losses, which could rapidly erode their current manpower advantage and stall the wider offensive effort. Second, capturing the area north of Huliai Pole would open a corridor enabling Russian forces to push deeper into the Zaporizhia and Dnipropetrovsk regions. This approach would allow them to avoid engaging Ukraine's strongest defensive lines, increasing the likelihood of sustaining operational momentum. To fulfill their objective, Russian forces committed approximately 40,000 troops to secure overwhelming numerical superiority and concentrated their main effort on Uspenivka, the key Ukrainian strongpoint on the western bank of the Yanchul River. Given the settlement's advantageous position, the only feasible Russian approach was to overpower Ukrainian positions, infiltrate the village, and establish a bridgehead. To set the conditions, Russians intensified drone operations, artillery fire, and airstrikes, with over 400 shells landing daily, according to the Ukrainian Southern Defense Forces. This sustained pressure gradually leveled fortified positions in and around Uspenivka. Ukrainian reaction proved too slow to counter the pace of developments, amplifying strain on frontline units. Seizing the opportunity, Russian assault groups exploited dense morning fog to conceal their movement. Allowing them to concentrate sufficient forces at a critical point and initiate a breakthrough against the weakened Ukrainian defenses. Following their concentrated push, Russian forces captured Uspenivka, opening a broad operational space north of Huliai Pole. The scattered villages across the fields between the 2 rivers quickly became exposed targets for the 40,000-strong Russian reserves, who flooded the area faster than Ukrainian drones could kill them. Nevertheless, Solodke and Zelenyi High remain holding due to their closer access to Ukrainian supply routes. With Uspenivka lost, Russian units advanced along a 15-kilometer front and penetrated up to 8 kilometers in depth. Amid the growing disarray provoked by the collapse of this key position, the Ukrainian command made a pragmatic and widely supported decision: prioritize the preservation of personnel. Rather than attempt to stabilize a rapidly expanding salient under uncertain infiltration conditions, Ukrainian forces initiated a controlled, fighting withdrawal toward the next prepared defensive line. However, this decision does not imply a passive stance. The next defensive line lies along the Zarichny River, where a chain of small settlements offers favorable terrain for organizing logistics, concentrating reserves, and positioning the equipment required for a sustained defense. Simultaneously, the shift toward preparing this line has prompted Ukrainian forces to reorganize their logistical routes. As a result, units conducting the gradual fighting withdrawal east of the river are receiving increasingly stable supplies, which will slow the tempo of the Russian advance as they draw closer to the riverbank. Thus, preparing this line does not mean abandoning all territory east of it or awaiting Russian forces without resistance. Rather, it aims to maximize defensive effectiveness while preserving personnel in the long term. This is essential for 3 reasons. First, only a firm stand along the river can inflict the attrition necessary to halt the offensive. Second, this line is the most strategic position from which to prevent Russian forces from entering the Orikhiv operational area. Finally, preserving manpower, especially under constant drone pressure, is vital to maintaining the strength needed both to repel assaults on Huliopole and prevent encirclement attempts from the north. Overall, the Russian penetration north of Huliopole has created short-term gains, but at the cost of stretching their forces into vulnerable terrain.